vai todo mundo pro inferno. E aquele perdão durou. E tá bom, hein? E aquele
right? The reality is this, family. If you haven't walked in someone's shoes, you just don't know. I want us to be people of the Word. We should be people of the Word. But know this, people of the Word disagree about what the Word says. And even among Seventh-day Adventist Christians, we don't see every issue the same way. And yet we still worship together. The better question is this: can you worship? Can you live with? Can you be kind to? Can you be friends with someone who doesn't embrace all of your beliefs? And if you can, what would stop you extending that to someone else that you believe sins differently than you? Now here's the reality, and I'm open to this. I'm going to tell you right now, if a person comes up to me and they tell me, Pastor, I am not convicted on this point. I believe that God allows this and God accepts me just the way that I am. That if I were to try celibacy, I would burn in passion, I would go crazy, and I'm just going to pray that God understands the thorn that is in my flesh and that His grace will be sufficient. And they are not condemned by their conscience, they can worship here. You see, this is a hospital, and everybody comes in with different ailments and for different reasons. There are some kids that are in hospitals not because of something that they ate or something they did wrong. It was because of something that happened from the womb. And doctors treat them. We should be no different. All you have to do is look at the scars in our Savior's hand, and you will know that His grace is sufficient. And some of you right now, the temptation is this, and I'm gonna stop you before you go there. Well, Pastor, for some it'll be different. The thorn in their flesh will be different. But I believe that if this church becomes a church that welcomes a community of loving, unconditional loving people, I believe that God's grace is sufficient. And that God will take the responsibility to finish the work He began. If we could just find ourselves at Calvary, we would realize that at Calvary there's a place of unconditional love and acceptance. I want you to know that there are people worshiping among us right now that are in same-gender relationships. There are some that will be coming to this church that are already here that are raising children in a home of same-gender relationships. Are we going to dedicate these children? Are we going to accept these families? Are we going to allow them to be a part of our growing family as we all strive in Jesus Christ?
important part of human existence. And we turn to music in times of great joy, and we turn to music in times of sorrow. All of us remember, well, a lot of you, if I look out here in the congregation, I bet you remember the time when our President Kennedy was assassinated. There was no television show. All the TV programming turned to music to help us get over that tragedy. Again and again, when we have tragedies or we have moments of great joy, we turn to music. And the gay chorus movement grew out of a tragedy. In 1978, the councilman Harvey Milk in San Francisco was assassinated. There was a candlelight vigil on the steps of the City Hall of San Francisco. And during that candlelight vigil, the men began to sing. And from that moment grew the idea that perhaps there should be gay choruses around the country. Gay choruses where gay men could come together and sing and feel safe. Because in 1978, gay men did not feel safe. Things have changed. Our world has changed. And now we are here singing for you today. And I'm just so very happy that we can be here to do this.
And join me, and we're going to talk for a few minutes about how God informs her life 24/7. Rhonda, you've been with us for a while, but I know you've lived a pretty full life way before we ever met you. So what can you share with us about who you are?
Wow, that's a cosmic question. In my early years, I was confused a lot about who I am and what I am. I knew from the age of 4 that I was different. And I had a hard time accepting the difference. Born, for all intents and purposes, a boy. At least that's the way I looked when I was born. But I didn't feel like a boy as I grew up. I felt like a girl. Had a hard time with it. And as I realized what society expected of boys and girls, how they would live, how they would act and behave, it was something that I felt like I had to hide from everybody, including myself. It was hard. I feel very happy to be here, though. I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist home, and it was kind of a split home because my father was an Adventist, my mother was not. He took us to Sabbath school and church. And I experienced the love of God very early in my life. But I wasn't really a converted Christian. I was baptized at the age of 14. More because that's what kids my age were doing at about that time than anything else, I think. but I had opportunity to go to one of our Adventist academies at the age of 15. So 11th and 12th grades, I got a good Seventh-day Adventist Christian education, at least for 2 years. Before that, I had not had anything but public school. But that changed my life a good deal in many respects, but still didn't change who I am basically as far as my feelings of gender. After I graduated, I attended a 2-year public college, and I had some really hard times with my college professors who were deist or agnostic or atheist. It brought me to a point in my life where I was really searching my own feelings and beliefs. My faith was challenged, and I had to kneel down in prayer and ask God to do something for me. And a miracle happened that changed my life totally after that point in time. I can't go into the details because it would be much too long. But I'm absolutely 100% convinced that it was a miracle that made me never, ever question the existence of God. Not just of the existence of God, but the existence of a loving, caring God. And I've carried that with me until this day.
I think something I've always appreciated about you, when I say always, since we've met, is your assurance in God and His love for you. Was that something that you always felt, or did you ever question that?
I don't think I really questioned it until I got into college and I began to wonder, wow, all of my professors had PhD degrees, and I thought, wow, these people are very learned and smart individuals.